So I just finished watching Rob Zombie's Munsters movie, which just arrived on Netflix today, September 27th. And I'm really excited I got to get to it, even though it's kind of late because I think, like a lot of people, had been anticipating this for a long time. Despite the fact that, sure, it's a takeoff on a classic show from the 60s, one of the probably most revered 60s shows ever. And the target audience this time was kids and families instead of Zombie's usual crowd, which is seasoned horror fans, I guess you could say. I know his particular brand caters to a certain audience. His films are very divisive. Either people love them or they hate them. Usually there's no middle ground with Rob Zombie. I myself am a fan of most of his stuff. So for this, it went into production a little while back, and then it was announced that it was going to be a Netflix direct to Netflix thing. So anyway, it finally came out, and it's a mixed bag, if I'm being kind. It's definitely a mixed bag. If I'm being honest, it didn't really work. It didn't really work, and I have a few reasons why. So I myself am not totally familiar with the Munsters like that. I've seen it, of course, but I don't know the show inside and out and all the side characters and front and back. So I'm just judging this movie based on the merits of it being a film, looking at it as a film, not comparing it to the series. And I'm not comparing Jeff Daniel Phillips to Fred Gwynn or Sherry Moon Zombie to Yvonne DiCarlo or anything like that. I'm trying to just judge them based on how they did with their roles and how the film looks and stuff like that. Do I think it worked or achieved what it was supposed to do? Entertain kids? Maybe. Little kids? Maybe. And I guess that's what he's going for here. But I think, first of all, it could have been cut down by like at least 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. There's no reason a PG children's film needs to be an hour and 49 minutes long. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the runtime of the movie. And you feel it. You feel it. So I think it looks good. I think it's ambitious in the fact that it's a very colorful film. I like that Rob added a lot of style to it, definitely. There's a lot of color going on. There's a lot to look at. He pretty much loaded the screen with a lot of eye-catching type stuff. All right? Now, eye-catching goes both ways. Eye-catching, it's good because I was sort of taken with all the colors. It was very, like, I don't know, it was pretty to look at times. And then there's moments where whatever CGI they used really looks like shit. Because, like, there's a moment where Lily, played by Sherry Moon Zombie, is looking at Herman on TV. She's, like, falling in love with him, and that's another thing I'll get to. Because she's, like, looking at him, and she's, like, already infatuated with him or whatever, and the Count, her father in the movie, goes to change the channel, and these lasers, her eyes glow, and she's like, don't touch that dial, and her voice changes and her eyes like glow, and it looks like somebody would photoshop, as if like an amateur photoshopped that effect into the film. Like, it looked really bad. There's some stuff in this movie that looks very cheap. It does look cheap, and I'm sorry to say that because I really wanted this to work. I wanted this to be like a smash hit that was gonna... Because it's risky for any director to move outside of their comfort zone. And Rob is definitely moving beyond his comfort zone here, for sure. He didn't stay with his usual horror stuff. He moved right into something children and family oriented, and I think that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with having ambition. But there's no story here. There's no story in this movie. It feels very like... the story revolves around Herman and Lily's first meeting and their romance and stuff like that. And her father, the Count, is not having it. He doesn't like Herman. And I think Jeff Daniel Phillips as Herman brought something interesting to the role. It doesn't seem like he tried to imitate or copy Fred Gwynn. I think he brought his own thing. He did his own thing. Sherry Moon She seemed at times like she was going in and out of character. Like there was a couple, like as the movie started, the first, I would say, 20 minutes of this movie are pretty rough, to just to get it going. And I feel like when she first came on screen, she was kind of doing the shaky thing where she was like, "Oh, father," like she was really, I don't know what she was doing. She seemed like she was trying to, I guess, copy Von DeCarlo, possibly. I'm not sure exactly what she was doing, but like it. Mm. But then there's moments in the movie where she gets better. Like she's a little smoother. Like I would say there's three different ranges that she has in this movie. There's one where she's trying to imitate Yvonne DiCarlo. There's like where she kind of like relaxes a little bit and develops her own Lily Munster character. And then there are some moments where she's just doing her normal thing, her normal, where she's almost like she's Mrs. Myers, like Michael Myers' mother in the Halloween remake that she was in, but not nearly as profane and stuff like that. You know, like she kind of goes back to where she's comfortable, I think. I'm not trying to knock her. I think she's great in the roles that she's been in. I mean, I really like The Lords of Salem. I love, of course, House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. And I am a fan of Rob Zombie's Halloweens. So, but I don't think she worked here. I don't think she worked as. By the way, I just noticed. Yeah, so I'm having a vent problem. So you're probably like, what the hell is? Why is that all covered? Yeah, I'm being ghetto at the moment, and I covered my vent with tape because it's not working properly. So forgive that monstrosity that you see on the ceiling behind you. It's yeah, struggle, guys, struggle time right now. Yeah. So like, oh, they make Herman this rock star character. Like by the time he's created. And by the way, we get some familiar faces in the movie too. We get Richard Brake, who's been in a bunch of Rob Zombie's films now, and who I think is one of the strongest characters in the role as Orlok. Is that who it is? I wish he had more screen time, honestly. Richard Brake is in it. Jeff Daniel Phillips was in Three from Hell. Sherry, of course, has been in pretty much all of Rob's movies. And Dee Wallace she kind of comes in at the end, and she's, of course, an icon, so it was cool to see her. If you don't know who Dee Wallace is, shame on you. She's the mom in E.T. That's the role everybody knows her for, but she's been in, countless roles in horror and all genres, large and small. So it was cool to see Dee Wallace, who has also collaborated with Rob quite a few times now. So it's cool that he's not the only director that does that. There are many directors that stick with who they're comfortable working with, so that's fine. But I don't understand what okay, original story, like he's making Herman this famous rock star, and that's how he gets Lily's attention. And then like the graphics that are thrown in, or the way things are framed, I guess you could say, like when Lily starts, falling for Herman, it's just all these hearts that are on the screen and stuff. It looks very cartoonish, and I guess he was going for the aesthetic of like an old show, like to make it look, but the show didn't really look like that. Like there's something about it that just looks very film student project, and I know Rob Zombie is better than that. I know he's better than that. I've seen his stuff. I know what he can do. He either goes for really gritty, like The Devil's Rejects, or not that this is anything like House of a Thousand Corpses, but in the way that it experimented with a lot of filming styles and colors and stuff. The Munsters aesthetic throughout is pretty much like that. But then there are scenes, like by the time the Munsters in the film are moving to Hollywood, which is almost towards the end of the film, there's like these weird little animation sequences that are thrown in. Everything feels out of place. That's why I say this movie is very much a mixed bag. I think he tried his best to target kids and sort of revive, but I don't know, man. Like, if you're reviving this show, if you're gonna take the Munsters, which for its time was pushing the envelope, the 60s normally didn't have shows like that, so it was big in the 60s. And he's such a fan. This film, I think, was a passion project of his. And if you're going to do this, you gotta, like, he went for broke. He did his own thing with it, but it's like it goes all over. It goes left and right. So I'm trying to think what else I wanted to. Oh, just the comedy, the funny stuff in the movie didn't work for me. I really didn't laugh once. There are some moments that are cute, and again, listen, I'm looking at this more from the critical eye. I'm not looking at this how children are going to take it. If it works for kids, that's great. If you're a parent watching this and you watch this with your son or your daughter or whoever, let me know. I mean, I could be way off. Maybe this is maybe this will work for kids, and that's great. That's who it's supposed to work for. But I think horror fans are going to watch this because of who Rob Zombie is, and because this show, when it was on the air, influenced the horror genre. So for those reasons, it's gonna attract people of all different ages, I think, and different types of fans, and that's cool. So you know what, I'm gonna rewatch it eventually. I'm gonna give it another shot. Maybe it'll grow on me. I wanted to watch it as soon as possible because it just came out. Like I said, I was really looking forward to it, and I'm glad Rob took a risk. I'm glad he did something new, and I really hope that this builds up a cult fan base over time. I really hope people enjoy it when they watch it. It's on Netflix. Check it out. It's free. I mean, if you have Netflix, it's free. It can't hurt to check it out. It's got some interesting ideas, I think, that weren't fully realized. What else can I say? Yeah, the performances were really hit and miss. The whole film just had some moments and stuff that I was like, okay, I like Spot, the dinosaur, is in it for like 2 seconds, but there's no Eddie in the movie. Spoilers, there's no Eddie. The movie ends with them talking about having kids and stuff. So if this succeeds in streaming numbers and stuff, and maybe Blu-ray sales, maybe there'll be a sequel. It's a possibility. So we'll see. But yeah, like, the writing too. Like, there's lines in here like when Herman first is created and comes to life. Like, there's a line that's like, no, not monster, Munster, like the cheese. And so that was like, oof. And then there's a line Lily says where she's like, oh no, I don't have kids. I'm 150, but 150 is the new 100. And I don't know. That line, it didn't do it for me. There's lines in here that just don't do it for me. Like I said, Jeff Daniel Phillips I could see his effort. He really tried. And for the time he's on screen, he's got his moments where he brings some type of charm to the role. He did his own thing. Sherry and Jeff Daniel Phillips, though, I don't see any genuine chemistry between them. They may have had fun making the movie, but like, they both try to be independently quirky, and their quirkiness doesn't really mesh, if that makes sense. So yeah, I wasn't really a big fan. Sorry to say that, but my review's my review. I gotta be honest. It's not one of my favorite Rob Zombie films, but I'm glad I watched it, and hopefully next time, the next project he does, whether it's Munsters or something else, it'll be better. Maybe everything will come together. I don't know, but yeah, I was taken out of the film at the beginning because some of the effects with those CGI eyes and the lightning bolts and stuff, just they could have been better. They either should have been in there on a bigger scale or higher quality, or just really not done at all. I'm not really sure if it was intentionally made to look sort of like cheap with an old school sort of feel, or if they just couldn't get better FX, but yeah. So let me know, guys, if you watch it and you drop a comment. Let me know what you thought of it, how you would compare it to the show, if you and your family enjoyed it, if it works as a family film. What are your favorite moments from it, and what did you think? Like I said, I think a lot of us were anticipating this, so yeah, let me know what you thought. Anyway, it's getting kind of late, so I'm gonna just end this here. I think I said everything that I needed to say, and yeah, better luck next time with a different movie version of a beloved show. All right, thanks, guys. See you later.